I'm a competitive talker. I argue competitively. Basically, I ramble for trophies. Yes, I'm in high school speech and debate, better known as forensics. And by looking at me, it's easy to observe the level of professionalism and decorum that is required to compete. A blazer, a blouse, pencil skirt, and high heels are the traditional dress that has been worn by girls on my team for years on end. And the guys also have a set uniform, so to speak. Now, I recently came across a pretty startling fact. No girl has ever won a college speech and debate tournament unless they were dressed like I am today, meaning that it took a level of traditional femininity to place. Now, after seeing this, I was like, okay, so girls had to wear skirts. No big deal, right? Until I became aware of the level of sexism that was being perpetuated on all of us. Now, this may be a little hard to wrap your head around, so let's take it back and think about what we know as gender. What is it that makes a woman and a man a man? Maybe it's the Barbies we had growing up that taught young girls to be passive, devote themselves to others, and be overly concerned about their physical appearance. Or maybe it's the G.I. Joe that taught young boys to be assertive, aggressive, and adventurous. Whatever it is, it's clear that these gender norms have been pushed on us since we were little, and that these gender norms have been pushed on society for many, many years. But let's put this all into perspective, and for that, we must go back to the 1900s. The 1900s was a time where a woman's role was so evident. The sole role of a woman was to have children, to take care of the kids, to cook, and to clean. So they didn't really need a formal education and spent most of their time at home, while the boys were at school. Now, fast forward almost 100 years to the modern day workforce. Now, women hold over 47% of working positions. This includes managerial roles, laboring forces, and everything else that comes in a workforce. But there is only one woman for every 7 men that hold top leadership positions at California's largest firms. And even more startling, women only hold 3% of the CEO positions at Fortune 500 companies. Only 3%. But why is there such a disparity in these numbers? It's not like men are superior to the other genders. So it became even more clear that the sexism had not gone away. Instead, the roles that were pushed on us from the 1900s are still present today. And even then, it's hard to argue against the changing role of women because 100 years ago, there was no way that I could be standing up here today talking. So let's examine some of the boundaries that women face today. I wanted to see if this sexism would impact me and my friends on the high school level. So I asked my friends if they had ever felt violated or limited because of their gender. Now, I expected just a couple of accounts or stories about sexism. But what I found was that every single girl that I had talked to, in some way or another, felt objectified or limited because of her gender. So now it's even more clear that the sexism had not gone away and these same roles were being perpetrated on us, with women graduating college with straight A's, receiving the same pay as their male counterparts who graduate with straight C's. You see, we women find it easier to be liked than to spark change. Therefore, we keep our feministic ideals in our pockets rather than start the conversation that would ultimately change the world. And it seems easier to be submissive than to spark change. It's 2016, and women are still being taught that they will only be successful if they are beautiful. It's 2016, And we are still being taught that women equal sexualized and that we can't be successful without a man by our side, and that even if we do overcome this, it seems easier to be submissive because nobody wants to hear our thoughts anyways. And it became really clear when my friend, who was a girl on a girl-guy debate team, received comments that her speaking was assertive and overbearing, and that she needed to calm down. But when her partner exercised the same speaking, it was seen as good debating. And it really hit home when it was an underlying acceptance that girl-girl debate teams won't do as well as girl-guy debate teams or guy-guy debate teams, because when a judge hears a girl with powerful ideas, they see it as a threat. It's 2016, and girls are still being forced into boxes, and seeing a woman who is successful, or any woman in power for that matter, is seen as rare. It's 2016, and I'm tired of being told what jobs I should take because they are female-dominated. It's 2016, and I'm still being taught to be mild and to be meek and to be quiet and not speak about the problems that plague my generation. But that's why I'm here, to start the conversation on behalf of all the women who don't have a choice or a voice to speak because they are afraid of the consequences. We are no longer limited to the box containing the profession of just a homemaker. You see, if we can pass over this facade of ignorance, we can move to a society that doesn't base its thinking on gender, but on talents and abilities. And you see, our worth doesn't come from our waistlines, but rather the unique thoughts that we formulate in our minds. We were not born to reproduce, but rather to change the world around us in a positive way. Because gender equality is not a female issue. It's a human's issue and impacts all of us today. At the end, you may have a preference for one or the other. But you know what? I'm not going to let someone muster up my entire speech and debate career into the type of dress that I am wearing. Instead, I'm going to continue the conversation and spark change because we all have something to say. At the end of the day, gender is at the core of who we are, but we must make it possible to transcend our stereotypes and honor the minds of people, and not just their outside personas. So now, it's up to you. How will you spark change?